بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. This is a point of benefit on the creed. The categories of people in the hereafter with respect to good deeds and bad deeds. First category, people with bad deeds only, no good deeds. Their abode is hell. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Second category, bad deeds exceed their good deeds. Bad deeds exceed the good deeds. They deserve admittance to hell, but we don't affirm they may be saved by intercession. Third category, good deeds equivalent to bad deeds. Same equivalence. And these are Ashab al-A'raf, the people of the heights, mentioned in Surah Al-A'raf chapter 7. They will not be admitted to hell nor to paradise, but their final destination is to paradise. Fourth category, those whose good deeds exceed their bad deeds. They fall under the Mashi'a, they fall under the will of Allah. They may be purified in hell and then admitted to paradise, or that Allah may forgive them without admittance to hell, and thus admitted to paradise without punishment. So they fall under the Mashi'a. They fall under the Mashi'a. They may be purified in hell and then admitted to paradise, or Allah may forgive them without admittance to hell and thus admitted to paradise without punishment. The fifth category, pure good deeds, no bad deeds. And this is to the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave his past and his future. He will meet Allah Azza wa Jal with pure good deeds. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shed us with His mercy and to admit us to paradise by His favor, and to forgive us our sins. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. These are points of benefits concerning the creed, and it refers to compelling someone on kufr, on disbelief, whether by way of action or by way of saying. This has the following situations to it. First, he does this while feeling comfortable with it in his heart. So he becomes a kafir. Example, if he is compelled to prostrate to an idol, and so he prostrates with his heart comfortable to that and tranquil. So he commits this belief. Now, if someone asks the question, how could there be a harmony between the compelling and the tranquility of the heart? The answer, yes, this is possible. When there is wavering with the person, so with compelling, his heart becomes tranquil. We seek refuge in Allah from that. Then he will be like the one whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described as in Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse 11. قال الله تعالى: ومن الناس من يعبد الله على حرف فإن أصابه خير اطمأن به وإن أصابته فتنة انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة ذلك هو الخسران المبين. And among mankind is he who worships Allah as it were upon the very edge, meaning in doubt. If good befalls him, he is content therewith. But if a trial befalls him, he turns back on his face. He reverts back to disbelief after embracing Islam. He loses both this world and the hereafter, and that is the evident loss. The second situation, he does this, meaning the kufr, he commits the kufr, or does the kufr, to repel the compelling, to ward off the compelling, not intending it, not intending the act of kufr or the saying itself, meaning he prostrates to the idol to ward off the compelling, not as a means of nearness to the idol, nor a means of nearness to Allah, but rather to compel or to ward off the compelling. Then he is excused and there is nothing upon him. Then he is excused and there is nothing upon him. The third, he does the kufr muta'awwila, meaning he uses words or actions, words or expressions or actions which may be understood to suit what is intended from him to say or to act. This is called, in this case, ta'wil. He uses words or expressions or actions which may be understood to suit what is intended from him to say or act. So he pretends this prostration, this act of prostration to the idol, intending it for Allah. Then he is excused. The fourth situation, he does this without intending anything, intending nothing, not to ward off the compelling, nor to be tranquil regarding it in his heart. Rather, he is compelled, so he did that without intention. This situation, the ulama had two sayings regarding it. First saying, he is blamed. He is held blameworthy because the obligation upon him is that he intends by executing the action, he intends warding off the compelling. He should intend that. This is the first opinion. The second opinion, there is nothing upon him because of the generality of the verse, إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان, except for the one who is compelled with his heart being satisfied and fulfilled with Iman. And especially this is applicable with respect to the common person who doesn't know. He doesn't have knowledge so as to resort to ta'wil, nor does he have the knowledge to ward off the compelling. He prostrates because he is compelled. But if he were to be asked, did you really prostrate to the idol truly and you intend that? He would say no. He would say no. Fifth case, if he is compelled to harm others and cause injustice to others or to kill others, then it is not permissible for him. He must try to ward off, and if he is killed for that, then inshallah ta'ala this would be a form of jihad, and inshallah he will be from amongst the martyrs. Now comes an important question. Which is better, to be patient regarding the compelling, even if it means him being killed, or to yield? The answer is from two angles. First, if the response, even on the apparent, entails turning away from Allah's way, then it is not permissible to yield to the compelling, even if killed. And the example of that is what occurred to Al-Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah in his story of the trial and the affliction regarding the Mu'tazilite fitna that the Quran is created. Had he responded to that positively, even by way of ta'wil, using these expressions which may be understood to suit what is intended, etc., then people would have been led astray, because the people were waiting to know what will Imam Ahmad say. And this is a form of jihad in this case. And the jihad fi sabilillah in the cause of Allah is wajib, because in this case there is a revival of the deen and the sunnah, and it's not permissible for the person to yield to the compelling in this case, because the compelling, the pure compelling, its effect or its harm is upon the person being compelled, but with respect to this one it transcends. The harm is upon the deen. So therefore the second angle is obvious. If it doesn't entail this, so should it be now better for him to yield, as in the second, third and fourth situation discussed earlier? Here it depends. The person may see that his existence is more beneficial to people, like someone who is wealthy, where he may benefit people by his wealth, or a knowledgeable person who may benefit people by his ilm, by his knowledge. Here we say he may yield and intend by this that this is for Allah. And if he is from the common people, then here there is a permit to do what he is compelled without having his heart being comfortable with that or satisfied with the kufr. Now, should a person yield with respect to insulting the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The answer, no. He should be patient, because this is a right which belongs to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He should be patient even if killed. But if he is able to resort to ta'wil, and there is no harm upon Islam in this way, then he may do so. These are points of benefit deduced from a discussion on this matter, or based upon a discussion on this matter by our Shaykh rahimahullah Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen in his discussion on the book of المرتدين استتابة المرتدين والمعاندين من صحيح البخاري, giving respite to those who go in a state of apostasy and the disdainful ones. And this is a chapter from Sahih al-Bukhari. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Point of benefit: what is the difference between al-qada, the decree, and al-maqdi, what is decreed? What will be the accomplished fact? What would come to exist by the decree? Well, the decree is al-qada is the act of Allah, is the action of Allah, and al-maqdi is the manifestation of what is to come to exist and be accomplished by the decree. So it is what is decreed as an actual fact. Now, is it incumbent upon the person to believe in both, in al-qada and al-maqdi? Now you see the difference between al-qada and al-maqdi now? The answer is Al-Qada is the decree of Allah. Decree. And it is His action. Fi'lullah. His act. And Al-Maqdi is that which is to come to exist by this decree as an accomplished matter, an occurrence. Clear? So it is what is decreed in terms of being manifested. Now, the question is, alhamdulillah. The question is it obligatory to believe in both? The answer is, it is obligatory to believe in Al-Qada, in the decree. As to the Al-Maqdi, then this requires details. If the Maqdi, Al-Maqdi Shar'an, there is, if it is a legal issue, a legal matter, a legal ruling, then this is, one must be content and accept that. Must be content with and must accept it. And so, as an example, it is obligatory upon us to accept the obligation of as-Salah, and also to accept the ruling on forbidding the zina, adultery. This is obligated. The second, if it is a kawni, if the maqdi is universal, kawni, if a universal matter. The universal matters, either they are fitting and suitable to the self, or painful upon the self. So if it is suitable, then being content with it is something natural, is something ingrained, natural. And if it is painful, then people are classified into 4 categories regarding it. If it is of the painful type, then people are divided into or classified into 4 categories regarding it. First, resentment. The person resents. Annoyed, becomes annoyed, displeased. So, resentful. Second, patient, being patient. So, either he is resentful or being patient, or 3, content. Content. 4th, grateful. 4th, grateful. So these are the categories of people with respect to the al-maqdi, if it is of the painful type, if it is painful to the self or upon the self. Either the person is resentful or patient or content or grateful. So that which is fitting and suitable to the self, there is no need to say that you must be content regarding it, because he will be content. Example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed children provisions, house, good mount, knowledge, iman. This is, the person is content with that. We don't say to him, you must be content, because this is something suitable to the self. It is something natural. However, a person becomes ill. Allah decreed upon him that, with an illness. Certainly, it is not suitable to the self. It is painful upon the self. And this is where people differ. This is where people differ into these four ranks: resentment, patience, contentment, and gratitude. The sign on resentment, if he says something which is, or acts something which is not acceptable Islamically, like for example to say Ya Wayla, woe to me, and the like, words expressing his resentment, or like in action begins to hit his head, or screaming, or smacking his face, jumping up and down until he falls on the ground, and the like. This is resentment by action, and this is forbidden. The second rank is the rank of patience. The person may suffer mentally or psychologically, but he is patient. Does not resort to these resentful acts described in sayings and actions. And this rank is obligated, meaning it's a must upon the person to be patient if afflicted with calamities. The third rank is ar-rida, contentment, regarding the decree of Allah, meaning that he is tranquil, open-breast with respect to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. He dislikes this. There is no doubt, because it does not fit the soul, but he does not go into pain about it. He says, this is the decree of Allah, and I am a possession of the possessions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His kingdom, and He subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right to do what He wishes. So he is satisfied, he is tranquil. What about this matter? Is it obligated to be content, or what? The ulama differed with respect to this matter in terms of the obligation. Some of them said that this is an obligation. Others said that it is recommended and praiseworthy. And this is the correct opinion, that it is recommended and praiseworthy because it is hard on many souls. Now, what is the sign of contentment? The sign is, if you ask him, were you affected by that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed upon you? He would say no, because I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not decree anything except that it is good for me. I believe in Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not decree anything upon the believer except that which is good for him. The fourth rank is the rank of gratitude, and this is higher than the third rank of contentment. Because it is contentment and more. Because it is contentment and more. Now if someone asks the question, how does one thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon a calamity? The answer is yes, he does. Because he knows that the reward on this, if he is patient and anticipates the reward, is greater than the calamity itself. So therefore he thanks Allah for this. Because the good entailed by it far exceeds any harm. So he is thankful from this angle. These are the levels and the ranks of people with respect to the legal decrees and the universal decrees, and the difference between al-qada and al-maqdi. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it a benefit for myself and for all of you. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. The fear and hope. Hope is hoping for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and fear is fearing from His hellfire and His punishment. And the position of the ulama, the people of knowledge, regarding how to deal with the fear, how to deal with the hope. The first opinion is that both the hope and the fear should be on the same level in the journey leading the person to Allah the Most High. They argued that if the side of hope becomes dominant, then the person may feel secure from the plot of Allah. And if, on the other hand, the side of fear becomes dominant, then the person will feel restricted and despair from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As an example, when the person prays the prayer and he is between two situations, he fears that it will not be accepted, or that he hopes that it is accepted. When he commits a sin, and he is also between two situations, fear from the sin and hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first opinion held by some of the scholars rahimahumullah is that the al-khawf wa raja should be the same, due to the reason argued earlier. And we know that the common people, they give hope predominance. So if you ask him why you are doing this, he says, Allahu Ghafurun Rahim. Allah is the oft forgiving, most merciful. Allahu Ghafurun Rahim. While the people of who tend to adhere to the deen, they give predominance to the fear, so you find them fearing, and some may cause them to despair from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who are from the two sides of this argument, some from the common people give predominance to the side of hope and say that Allah is Ghafurun Rahim whenever they are reminded about something they may have done wrong. While the other side, you see, give predominance to the fear. So they fear for people, and they fear that they may also despair, to the extent that they may despair from the mercy of Allah to give guidance to to someone because of his sins. The other saying of the scholars is that the side of hope should be predominant or dominant, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in al-Hadith al-Qudsi, I am with respect to my slave as he holds the opinion regarding me, and I am with him if he remembers me. So accordingly then, you should have good opinion in Allah and give dominance to the side of hope. And also they took as evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told his Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabbi ibadi, inform my slaves, Anni ana al-Ghafur al-Rahim, I am the most of forgiving, the most merciful, وَأَنَّ عَذَابِي هُوَ الْعَذَابُ الْأَلِيمُ, and that my torment is the severe torment. So he began with hope. He began with the hope, then followed by the fear. This is the second opinion. The third opinion, they said that when it comes to matters of obedience, when it comes to the matter of obedience, one should give dominance to hope. Give dominance to hope. And when it comes to disobedience, one should give dominance to, when it comes to disobedience, if he embarks upon or makes the determination to carry a disobedient act, then in this case he should give dominance to fear. They said that if he acts on the act of obedience, then he should give the side of hope dominance that Allah accepts from him, and if he intends to perform the ma'asiyah, the sin, he should give dominance to fear in order to preserve himself from falling in it. Yeah. Otherwise, if he would give dominance to the hope, then he may fall into the sin. Clear so far? Yeah. Reference to the ayah Al-Hijr, Surah Al-Hijr 15, 49 and 50. طيب. The fifth opinion is that if the person is in a state of illness, then he should give dominance to hope And if he is in a state of good health, he should give dominance to the side of fear. That is because in the hadith, لا يموتن أحدكم إلا وهو يحسن الظن بالله. Let not one of you die except that he has good opinion in Allah. And the person who is ill is closer to death from the person who is healthy. Although that we know that the appointed times are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but this is what the most likely. Now, so these are now how many opinions? How many opinions? No, 4. 4 opinions. We have mentioned 4. Yes. Our Shaykh rahimahullah said, and one should be he should be his own doctor. He should be his own doctor. If he sees in himself inclination to evil, then he should give dominance to the side of fear. And if he sees in himself strength on obedience and doing acts of obedience and abandoning sins, then he should give dominance to the side of hope, that Allah gives him steadfastness on his actions. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, I testify that there is no true God worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Allah's true slave and messenger. May Allah's salat and salam be upon the noble Prophet and the believers of his family and the noble companions and those who follow on their path until the day of resurrection. Now, the second matter concerning the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this: are they limited to a certain number? Are the names of Allah limited to a certain number, or they are limitless? The answer: some people of knowledge are with the opinion that they are limited to 99 names. Some are with the opinion that they are limited to 99 names, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is witr. Witr meaning quote unquote odd. And because the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, Inna lillahi tis'atan wa tis'een asma man ahsaha dakhala al-jannah. To Allah belongs 99 names. Whoever ahsaha, and we have to put this in Arabic now, because what does it mean? Ahsaha. Literally it would mean whoever enumerates them will enter paradise. This is an opinion. Some of the scholars on the other hand said that the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not limited to a certain number. And they took evidence from the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, and it's an authentic hadith, the hadith of sorrow and hardship, when the person is touched by that. If the person is touched by grief or sorrow, he invokes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in that hadith of invocation, referring to this state, as-Saluka bi kulli ismin huwa lak, O Allah, I ask you by every name of yours, sammayta bihi nafsak, you named yourself with, أو أنزلته في كتابك, or you revealed in your book, أو علمته أحدا من خلقك, or that you taught, made it known to any of your creation, أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك, or you have kept with you in the knowledge of the unseen with you. The point of evidence from this hadith is the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك, the last statement, or that you have kept with you in the world of the unseen. Because what Allah had kept with him in this world, لا يمكن إدراكه, cannot be known. And thus, it cannot be limited to 99 names. And this opinion, this saying is the correct opinion, is the preponderating one. That the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not limited, and not all of them are known to us because of this statement in the hadith. Now, there remains the need to answer the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that to Allah belongs 99 names, whoever ahsaha, enumerates them, enters paradise. How is the answer concerning this statement by the Prophet ﷺ? We say that to Allah belongs 99 names موصوفة بأن من أحصاها دخل الجنة, described as whoever enumerates them enters paradise, meaning ويعني, and this in itself means وهناك أسماء أخرى لا علاقة لها بهذا الحكم, and that there are other names which have no relation to this ruling. Like, for example, you say, I have 100 horses which I have prepared for jihad in the cause of Allah. Does this mean that you don't have other than these 100? If we know that you have 1,000? The answer is no. And the hadith is something similar to this. أن المعنى that the 99 names are described that من أحصاها دخل الجنة, and this means that there are other names which are not related to this. So the meaning would be, from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore, there are 99 names, whoever enumerates them enters paradise. And in this case, their number is not restricted or limited. There remains still another question. هل هذه 99 هل يمكن الإحاطة بها علما? Are these 99 names, is it possible regarding these 99 names that one can comprehend them in knowledge? الجواب yes. The answer is yes. Because had it not been the case, then the wording of the Prophet ﷺ لكان لغوا, it would have been in vain talk. So what is the method therefore to enumerate them? The answer, this came in one hadith which enumerated these names. However, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah cautioned that the sard of these names is mudraj, that the enumeration is the saying of the narrator, and it is not وليس من كلام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فلا يحتج به. However, it is not from the wordings of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, and therefore it cannot be used as a proof. And he cited, for example, that from the names which are not mentioned in this hadith reported by Tirmidhi is the name Ar-Rabb. And we know that Ar-Rabb is one of the names of Allah, and it is not mentioned in these enumerated in that hadith. And Ar-Rabb is one of the names of Allah. We read in the hadith, السواك مطهرة للفم مرضاة للرب. The siwak, the wooden toothbrush from the arak tree, is a purification for the mouth. مرضاة للرب, a pleasure to الرب, to the Lord. So this is one name. It is not mentioned in this hadith. Also, the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said regarding the ruku' in salah, أما الركوع فعظموا فيه الرب. In ruku', in bowing, magnify الرب, magnify الرب, magnify the Lord. Also from his name is as-Shafi, the one who heals. And it is not mentioned in this, enumerated in this hadith. It was from the ruqya, the recitation of the Prophet ﷺ on the sick person, to say, وَاشْفِ أَنْتَ الشَّافِ. Oh Allah, bring the cure, and you are the one who cures. So then the question still holds. What is the path to enumerate them? The path is to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make them completely known, as He did with Laylatul Qadr, as He did with the night of decree, and as He did also with respect to the hour where He responds to the invocation on Friday. Why? من أجل أن يكون لنا عمل في تتبع هذه الأسماء وحصرها, so that we exert the effort to search for these names and enumerate them, and in this way the one who is keen will get reward, and he will be distinguished from the one who is not. And therefore also we say, هذا القرآن, this is the Quran, and this is the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Follow the Quran, search, تتبع السنة, search, take from the Quran and from the Sunnah 99 names, enumerate. Then you will enter paradise. However, there still remains, what does it mean to enumerate? أحصاها. What does it mean? Does it really mean the translation which you have heard, meaning enumerate them in number? Or this ihsa is something else? If you want to know what is intended, then examine the recompense. Examine the recompense. Examine the reward. What is the reward? دخول الجنة. دخول الجنة. Entering paradise. Mere enumeration, mere calculation or finding the number, enumeration, is not on its own stand to be a recompense to enter paradise. So therefore, al-muradu bil-ihsa, what is intended by ihsa is knowing the names by their texts, by their words, and knowing the meaning, and du'a'ullahi biha, and invoking Allah by these names, وَالتَّعَبُّدُ لَهُ بِمُقْتَضَاهَا, and to worship Him in that which these names entail. I will repeat. Therefore, the ihsa of Allah's names that came in the hadith means know their words, the text, the meaning, invoking Allah by them, and worship Allah through what these names entail. For example, if you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafoor, oft forgiving, it is not enough in this ihsa to know that Al-Ghafur is one of the names of Allah, this is one thing, but it is not enough. And that the meaning is the one who covers the sins and pardons them, this is not enough until you invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His name, and therefore you say, Ya Ghafur, Ighfir li. O Allah, the forgiving, forgive me, وحتى تتعبد لله بمقتضى, and until you worship Allah by what this name entails, بأن تتعرض لمغفرة الله بكثرة الاستغفار وكثرة الأعمال الصالحة التي توجب المغفرة, such that you exert yourself with abundant istighfar, seeking forgiveness, and abundant righteous deeds, all of which would entail forgiveness. This is the meaning of ihsa. This is the meaning of ihsa. The third matter. Is this clear now, inshallah? Is this clear now, the meaning of ihsa? Those who understood it, please put one. Okay, is the meaning of ihsa clear to you? طيب, alhamdulillah. Now, the third matter. هل أسماء الله عز وجل توقيفية يقتصر فيها على ما جاء به النص? Are the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restricted to the textual reference, or أو هي عقلية فيسمى الله عز وجل بما يقتضيه العقل, or are they intellectual, so Allah is to be named in accordance to what the intellect may entail? The answer, هي توقيفية. The names are restricted, meaning to the texts, because we don't know. لأننا لا نعلم الاسم الذي يستحق أن يسمى الله به. We don't know the name by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves to be named with. عقولنا تقصر عن ذلك. Our intellect falls short from this, and therefore we depend upon the text. ولا يسمى الله بما لم يسم به نفسه, and thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not to be named by other than that which He named Himself with. And if it is the case that with respect to the children of Adam, you don't name someone with that name which He didn't name Himself with, therefore what about Allah Azza wa Jal? It is by all means more fitting that we don't name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by other than that which He named Himself with, because لأن جانب الربوبية أعظم احتراما من جانب البشرية, because Allah's lordship is greater than the respect for the human nature, a created one, and accordingly فالأسماء توقيفية. Accordingly, the names of Allah are restrictive or restricted to the text, and therefore it is not allowable or permissible to name Allah by that which He didn't name Himself with. And this is from the deviation concerning the names of Allah, to name Him by other than what He named Himself. Now, if we say that, and this is the truth, that the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are husna, most beautiful, most perfect, And if we apply this now to the Hadith al-Qudsi, where the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يؤذيني ابن آدم يسب الدهر وأنا الدهر بيدي الأمر أقلب الليل والنهار. The son of Adam hurts me, for he abuses الدهر, abuses time. Though I am الدهر, though I am time, all matters are in my hands, and I cause the revolution of day and night. So Allah said here, وأنا الدهر, and I am time. فهل الدهر من أسماء الله? Is therefore الدهر time from the names of Allah? Al-Jawab, the answer. We say that Allah said about His names, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى, and to Allah belongs the best of names. So Allah qualified His names that they are best, حسنى. وَالدَّهْرُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَسْمَاءِ اللَّهِ الْحُسْنَى. And at time, الدهر is not from His best names. Because ثُمَّ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قال, furthermore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُؤْذِينِ ابْنُ آدَمْ يَسُبُّ الدَّهْرِ, the son of Adam hurts me, for he abuses time. وَالَّذِينَ يَسُبُّونَ الدَّهْرِ لَيْسُوا يَسُبُّونَ اللَّهِ بل يسبون الوقت، يسبون الزمن، يسبون السنة. ليسوا يسبون الله. And those who curse the time, they don't curse Allah, rather they curse the time, they curse the year. They are not cursing Allah. And therefore the meaning of Allah saying in the hadith, وَأَنَا الدَّهْرِ, and I am time, meaning I am the creator of time, and al-mudabbir wal-mutasarrifu fi al-dahr. I am the creator of time, and I am the one who runs the affairs of everything that takes place in time. This is evident in the last statement in the hadith, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the hadith al-Qudsi, بِيَدِيَ الْأَمْرُ أُقَلِّبُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ. In my hands, all matters are in my hands, and I cause the revolution of day and night. And this is now a clear matter, that الدهر هنا هو الوقت, that الدهر here means the time, and that it is not a name of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We stop here, inshallah ta'ala. We will go to the fourth matter tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. This is a point of benefit on the creed. Regarding the permission of Allah. The permission of Allah. This is known in Arabic as idhn, al-idhn, al-idhn, the permission of Allah. It is of two types. Legal or shar'i, al-idhn al-shar'i, the legal permission, and al-idhn al-kawni, the universal one, legal and universal. That which is related to the creation, that which is related to the creation is kawni, universal, is of the universal type, while that which is related to as-Shar'i, then it is of the Shar'i type. This is the criteria. So that which is related to the legislations, then it is of the Shar'i, the legal type. That which is related to the creation, then it is of the universal one, kawni. So we'll write it down, inshallah. Shar'i and kawni. Kawni, universal. Shar'i, legal. And the universal or kawni is related to the creation. And the Shar'i, legal, is related to the Shara', to the legislation. Take for example, in Surah Ash-Shura, 42:21. 42:21. قال الله تعالى أم لهم شركاء شرعوا لهم من الدين ما لم يأذن به الله. أم لهم شركاء شرعوا لهم من الدين ما لم يأذن به الله. The إذن here, the permit here is شرعي, not كوني. This is in Surah Ash-Shura 42:21. Or have they partners with Allah who have instituted for them a religion which Allah has not allowed? Okay, so the permission here which Allah refers to is Allah did not permit it legally, but rather He permitted it universally, from the aspect that He permitted it to exist, to come to creation. What to come to creation? That they have taken partners with Allah and instituted these partners as gods besides Allah. Did this exist or not? Question, so that you understand this inshallah properly. Did this exist or not? It did. So Allah allowed it or permitted it from the creation aspect, from the universal aspect. Is He pleased with it? Is Allah pleased with it legally? No. He did not permit it legally. He did not permit it legally. Take for example in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:255. قال الله تعالى من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. He or who is he that can intercede with him except with his permission? This permission is what? كوني, universal. No, كوني, universal. كوني, not قوني, كوني, from كون, creation, universal. Also in فيكون طيرا بإذن الله, when concerning the miracles which Allah gave to Isa alayhi salam in Surah Al-Imran, and will 349, yes, and will make him, Isa, Jesus, a messenger to the children of Israel, saying, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, that I designed for you out of clay as it were كهيئة الطير, the figure of a bird, and breathe into it, and it becomes a bird, what? By Allah's permit, by Allah's leave. This is universal, right? This is kawni. Allah permitted it to come to exist in this way. Is that clear? So therefore, the permit or leave or of Allah is divided into these two types, shar'i and kawni. Anything that is related to creation and bringing to existence, then it is kawni, from the kawn, from the universe. Is that right? Clear? Also like in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 110. Chapter 5, verse 110. وَإِذْ تُخْرِجُ الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِي. وَإِذْ تُخْرِجُ الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِي. Al-Ma'idah 110. And you brought forth, yes, and when you brought forth the dead by my permission, by my permission. طيب. Let us examine the following verse in Surah 10, Yunus 59. قال الله تعالى قل الله أذن لكم أم على الله تفترون. Is this legal or kawni? Is this shar'i or kawni? Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tell me what provision Allah has sent down to you, and you have made of it lawful and unlawful. Say, O Muhammad, has Allah permitted you to do so, or do you invent a lie against Allah? This is legal. This is legal permit. This is referring to the legal permit. Naam.
So if someone says now the following question, what's the difference between them? What is the difference between them? The difference is that with the legal permit, there is that which Allah loves. While with the Kawni permit, there is that which Allah may love and that which He may not love. This is the first one. Clear? Clear this difference? Nothing that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings to existence that necessarily He loves, or permits it to exist that He necessarily loves. This is one difference between the two. The second, with respect to the universal Kawni, that which Allah permitted will come to exist, is inevitable to take place. You understand? Right? Meaning that Allah permitted it to exist, therefore it will exist. It will come to exist. طيب. While with the Shar'i permit, it may exist and it may not exist. Some may comply to the Sharia and some may not comply to the permit. Is that clear? Clear? Meaning that which Allah permits legally may come to exist and it may not come to exist. You see the difference now between the two? Okay. Fine. Alhamdulillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. I testify that there is no true God worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is Allah's true slave and messenger. May Allah's salah and salam be upon the noble Prophet, and the believers of his family, and the companions, and those who follow on their path until the day of resurrection. The question was, we believe in al-Qada wal-Qadar and very decree, but is it therefore correct to attribute evil to Allah, and is evil part of Allah, Allah's actions? Allah the Exalted is high above evil, and evil should not be attributed to Him, because He is the most perfect, most wise, most just, most merciful in all of His actions. But then how is it that good and evil are from Allah? This is in the hadith, and we believe in that. Knowing that one cannot attribute evil to Allah, so how is it that good and evil are from Allah, knowing that one cannot attribute evil to Allah, as the Prophet ﷺ made it clear in his saying, لبيك وسعديك والخير كله في يديك والشر ليس إليك أنا بك وإليك تباركت وتعاليت. In the hadith related by Muslim, I respond to your call, O Allah, and I am obedient to your orders. All good is in your hands, and the evil is not attributable to you. I am by you, and to you blessed are thee, and exalted are you. So Allah, the Prophet ﷺ made it clear that evil is not attributable to you, O Allah. This issue is understood in the light of the fact that in matters of the defined decree or preordainment, and in what is decreed, if we understand these matters, then we'll be able to understand this question, inshallah. Evil, therefore, is not in His decree itself. Evil is not in Allah's decree itself, because it represents Allah's knowledge. The decree of Allah represents Allah's knowledge, ability, writing, will, and creation, and all of these attributes and actions are good and perfect, and therefore evil is not inherent in the decree itself, in Allah's decree. If evil is one of Allah's actions, a name of Allah would have been derived from it, and there is none. Evil, however, is in what is known as the maqdur, which is what is decreed in Allah's creation. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ said in one supplication, and protect us from the evil of what you decreed, in the evil of what you decreed. Al-Maqdur, this is named Al-Maqdur, the decreed in Allah's creation, that is manifested. The Maqdur is either good or evil. Even when it's evil, it is relative. and not pure evil. You see, meaning what's decreed in Allah's creation, even if it is evil, it is relative, and it's not pure evil. It is evil in one respect, good in another. Or it is evil in one case and good in another. Evil is in Allah's creation, not in Himself, not in attributes, not in names, not in actions. He is above associating any evil to Himself and to His attributes, since all are perfect and majestic. His names are Husna, best and most beautiful. His actions are all wise, full of mercy and all just. He is praised for all of that, so it is impossible to attribute evil to Him. What is evil? Now this will help us to understand the subject really clearly. Evil is placing things in their unsuitable place, and this is injustice. Evil is placing things in their unsuitable place, and this is injustice. Although Allah is the creator of everything, including good and evil, He is high above being unjust. He places things in their proper places, and this is all good. And this is all good, because evil is, by definition, placing things in their unsuitable places. And this is injustice. And this cannot be attributed to Allah. Although Allah is the creator of everything, including good and evil, He is Allah above being unjust, and He places things in their proper perspective, and because of that, they become all good. That's why evil is not attributable to Him. Even when Allah punishes certain people for their evil doing, it cannot be said that this constitutes evil on Allah's part. In fact, it is His justice and wisdom. Take for example the saying of Allah. This will be clear in this verse. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. لماذا؟ ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا. ليش؟ لعلهم يرجعون. Evil, sins and disobedience to Allah has appeared on land and sea because of what? Because of what the hands of men have earned by oppression and evil deeds. And what is the wisdom? That Allah may make them taste a part of that which they have done. In order for what? In order that they may return by repenting to Allah and begging His pardon. The appearance of evil on land and sea is evil in itself, there is no doubt about it, but there is also great wisdom and good behind it. In order that they may return to Allah, cutting off the thief's hand or stoning the adulterer is an evil thing for the thief and the adulterer, but it is good for them in one respect, because it is a purification for them, so that the punishment of this life and the hereafter are not combined for them. It is also good in another respect, in the sense that it protects the society from such evil deeds. Everything attributed to Allah is good. Had evil been attributable to Allah, it would not be evil. What made it evil is its attribution to Allah's created beings and their deeds. Certainly Allah created it and willed it to occur, and from this respect it is not evil. So the mere existence of evil is not evil in itself. The mere existence of evil is not evil in itself. It becomes evil when it is deprived from good and its means, and when it is placed in other than its proper place. Even then its evil is still relative. Also, existing matters are not evil in themselves, but they may turn evil in relative ways. Prostration is not evil in itself, but when it is linked to other than Allah, it becomes evil. Prostration, sujood. Sujood is not evil in itself, but when it is linked to other than Allah, it becomes evil. So if someone prostrates to someone from the creation, it becomes evil. Certainly Allah is free from doing this evil, and it cannot be attributed to Him. The nature of oneself is ignorant. The nature of oneself is ignorant, unjust, and not self-sufficient. Allah spoke about us, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. And Allah has brought you out from the wombs of your mothers while you know nothing. Chapter 16 verse 78. Now, Allah bestows knowledge, ability and richness on the self. The resulting good is therefore from Allah. The lack of knowledge, of faith, of patience, of willingness to do good is absolute adam, meaning non-being, non-existing without a doer. The lack of good attributes is therefore from the self. This non-existence and what it entails is the first kind of evil and is an attribute of the nature of the self. Not being patient, lacking knowledge, willingness to do good, etc. The non-existence of these things and what it entails is the first kind of evil, and it is an attribute of the nature of the self itself. Its evil is not attributed to Allah, it's described with deficiency, with ignorance and with injustice. وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. But man bore it, the amana, the trust or moral responsibility or honesty and all the duties which Allah had ordained. Verily he was unjust to himself and ignorant of its results. Indeed Allah created him from the womb of his mother while knowing nothing. Man has been created impatient and weak. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ هَلُوعًا إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. Verily man was created anxious, very impatient, fretful when evil touches him. إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ. And also niggardly when good touches him, save those who devoted to prayer. Those who remain constant at their prayers, الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. And those in whose wealth there is a right acknowledged. لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ, for the beggar and the destitute. And those who believe in the day of recompense, and those who fear the torment of their Rabb. All these are exceptions. But man was created anxious, very impatient, fretful when evil touches him, and niggardly when good touches him, save those who devote themselves to prayer, save those who are consistent with their prayer, save those who are in whose wealth there is right acknowledged, for the beggar and the destitute, and those who believe in the day of recompense, and those who fear the torment of their Rabb. These are excluded. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. And man was created weak. Man is weak in his will, in determination to fight desire, in his structure, in his knowledge, in his patience. He by necessity must have someone who can protect him, strengthen him and support him. And there is none who can bestow this help and protection except Allah. If Allah abandons him, then his destruction would be closer to him than himself. He created man with such weak qualities, and he is praised on that. Man's creation is a manifestation of Allah's wisdom and might. Whatever is done or entailed by the created being with respect to the Creator is goodness, justice and wisdom, because it originates from the perfect attributes of richness, knowledge, might, wisdom and mercy. While with respect to man, however, it's divided into good and evil, nice and ugly, obedience and disobedience, goodness and wickedness, prayers, fasting, hajj, fornication and adultery, theft, eating and drinking. This mixture of deeds is a reflection of man's weakness, ignorance and need, producing the evil work as well as the conformity to Allah's commands and prohibitions. That would mean producing what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the good deeds. So the mixture of deeds is a reflection of man's weakness, ignorance and need, and this produces the evil work, as well as the other mixture, the other part of the mixture, as well as the conformity to Allah's commands and prohibitions, and this is what produces what pleases Allah. These are from the words of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. The deficiency of the self, the ignorance and injustice of own self entails evil, and that the degree of evil is proportional to the self's inherent strength and weakness. The more it is weak, the more evil it will produce. Think about the first deficiency that came upon the father of mankind, Adam. Think about that, and which spread to his offspring. It came as a result of the lack of knowledge or patience and determination. وَلَقَدْ عَهِدْنَا إِلَىٰ آدَمَ مِنْ قَبْلُ فَنَسِيَ وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. And indeed we made the covenant with Adam before, but he forgot, and we found on his part no firm will power. This is chapter Taha, verse 115. Forgetfulness, whether it is the lack of knowledge or patience, and it reflects non-existence of knowledge or patience, and this will entail wrong and ignorance. When Adam alayhi salam realized the consequences, what did he say? رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا. Look at this beautiful confession. رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Our Rabb, we have wronged ourselves. If you forgive us not and bestow not upon us your mercy, we shall certainly be of the losers. Thus Adam recognized that he lost paradise because of the wrong he committed resulting from the lack of knowledge or impatience. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah described the self as being caught always between two contrasting states. If it is not occupied with the righteous and beneficial contrast, it will be busy with the corrupt and harmful contrast. Its will constantly keeps it in motion, and if it does not move towards good, it will move towards evil. Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, Most High and Exalted is Allah from attributing evil to Himself. Everything attributed to Him is good. He subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of both good and evil. Evil is in some of His created beings, not in His attributes of creation and action, which together with His pre-decree are all good. I will repeat this statement because of its importance. He subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of both good and evil. Evil is in some of His created beings, not in His attributes of creation and action, which together with His pre-decree are all good. All of His names and attributes are evidences against attributing evil, injustice and wrong. Though He is the creator of everything, He created the deeds of His slaves, their movements and their sayings. The slave of Allah commits evil when he does something which Allah has made unlawful. Indeed, Allah is the one who made him able to do that. This making is from Allah, and it is just, wise and correct. Making him able to do is good, but what was done is ugly. He gave him the ability to do things. Making him to do is good, but what was done is ugly. Due to the great wisdom which Allah is praised for, His making let things fall in their suitable places. Thus it is good, wise and beneficial, although being done by the slave himself is deficient and evil. This is something witnessed. Putting wicked things in their suitable places is correct, wise and just matter. It becomes unjust and ill-wise if they are placed in places other than their original and suitable places. Placing a head cover on the head, garbage in a garbage dump, this is the whole point. Placing a head cover on the head, garbage in a garbage dump, and wearing shoes in the feet are examples of placing things in their suitable places. No injustice is caused when you put your shoes on the feet or the garbage in the dump, because such places are the right places. The all-just Allah and the all-wise are names of Allah the Exalted. He therefore does not put things except in their proper places. If you ask, why did Allah create evil? I say, still Imam Ibn Qayyim answering, His creation of it is good and not evil, because creation and action are self-existent to Allah. It is impossible that evil is self-existing to Allah or an attribute of Allah. Whatever evil there is in the created is evil. That is, it is evil because it cannot be attributed to Allah. Whatever He willed is good, and whatever He willed not to bring into existence remains in its origin of non-existence, and non-existence itself is the evil. The essence of evil is the non-existence of what is necessary for the being, continuity or perfection of something. A second type of evil is the existential evil,
like corrupt beliefs and wills. Anything that opposes life and existence, like illness and its causes, pain and its causes, existing impediments that prevent the attainment and deliverance of good to its suitable and agreeable places. Example, bad elements that prevent the distribution of good nutrition to the parts of the body, and false beliefs and corrupt wills that prevent its opponents, the good beliefs and wills, from reaching the heart. This is existing evil. This existential evil is not evil in itself, but rather contributory and relative. Here are some examples. Flowing water from a river used to irrigate and benefit a piece of land. Its perfection lies in its flow and reaching the target land. If its direction of flow is altered such that it will devastate another land, then the evil lies in the alteration of the direction of flow. Similarly, the will and anger are both are created to assist man in achieving what benefits him and destroying what might harm him. When they are used to fulfill such purposes, then they achieve their state of perfection, and this is good. However, if they are diverted from their good course and used improperly in places where they should not be used, then this diversion becomes the contributing relative evil. Third, the perfection of fire is in its burning. If it burns what is required to be burned, then it's good. If, however, it meets what is not required to be burned, it will ruin it, and this evil is relative. Also, the movement of the tongue and all of our limbs follows the same concept. Their mere existence is not evil. It is relative. Using these body parts in ways and places that are not proper or suitable, then that would make them evil. With this in mind, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah gave some examples that explain the human self. One of these examples is the following. Like a fast rotating wheel or mill. Wheel, W-H-E-E-L. He's giving an example about the human self. Like a fast rotating wheel or mill. It will lay waste whatever it may snatch. The miller is in charge, making good use of it. Suddenly, the heedless one comes close to it, and it turns apart his clothes or parts of his body. If it is said to the miller, "Why did you not make it still so that it does not harm the one who comes close to it?" The miller will respond, "This is its inherent nature by which it is a mill. Had it been made of other than this nature, the required wisdom behind its being would not have been achieved." Very sound. The Prophet ﷺ sought refuge in Allah from all forms of evil of the human self when he said, وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا وَمِنْ سَيِّئَاتِ أَعْمَالِنَا, in the hadith reported by Muslim, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evils of ourselves and from our own doings. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim commented, quote, "In his refuge, the Prophet ﷺ covered all roots of the self-evil. The first is its potential evil that does not manifest itself in action. This evil is in the self's nature and quality. The second is the manifested evil as allured by the self, and it is associated with acquisition and will. Both kinds of evil subject the self to punishment. Thus seeking refuge in Allah, as said by the Prophet ﷺ, concise words, covers all evil and what it entails." So from now here, at this point we know, alhamdulillah, that evil is not attributable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah willed it to be created, willed it to exist, but its presence is also relative, and its influence is also relative, and there is also good in that. The question is now, why is there good and evil? Why is there good and evil? Both good and evil are creation of Allah. The question is why there is good and evil, and also related to this question is why the hearts cannot be one heart. Both good and evil are creation of Allah. and thus there must be a wisdom behind their creation. Those who raise the questions as to why Allah did not make all places suitable for His favors and why He didn't make all the hearts of one heart are ignorant about Allah's names and attributes. That's why when we emphasize so much the need to know Allah by His names and attributes, sometimes people are kind of amazed or astonished why. There are on the same level as those who ask the question, why did Allah create all the contrasts? Why did He not make them all uniform? Why has Allah created the day and the night, the up and down, the cold and hot, the illness and health, the devils and the angels, the good and bad fragrance, the sweet and bitter, and the nice and ugly? All of these contrasts are entailed by His Lordship, being the Lord, being the true God, also who deserves to be worshipped alone. Also entailed by the dominion, ability and will and wisdom of Allah. The reality of the one who possesses the kingdom is to honor his friends and humiliate his enemies. The perfection of His wisdom and ability lies in the creation of contrasts, giving each contrast whatever fits it. The manifestation of the influence of Allah's names and attributes in the world is necessitated by His Lordship and kingdom. How could He bestow His favors, forgiveness, kindness and mercy, etc., if there is none to receive such provisions? Is it of Allah's wisdom to eliminate the abundant good for the sake of partial evil that may be associated with it? Take for example the rain by which Allah brings life to mankind. Land and trees and animals, how many travelers become trapped by rain? How many homes may be destroyed by rain? Could such effects be compared with its benefits? When compared to its benefits, aren't the bad effects like a spit in the sea? Is it a great evil to eliminate the rain only to prevent its bad effects? Allah made the sun subservient to the benefits of man. It ripens their fruits and food, develops their bodies and the bodies of the animals and birds, etc. However, it often prevents people from accomplishing certain benefits, and so often it dries out moisture and makes animals thirsty, etc. There is, however, no comparison between its benefits and its bad influence. Therefore, eliminating the abundant good because of the minor evil is in itself a great evil, and it is against what the wisdom of Allah entails. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is speaking these words, and he said, I said to Shaykh al-Islam, who was his Shaykh, he was studying with Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. He said, I said to Shaykh al-Islam, meaning to Ibn Taymiyyah, it would have been quite possible to have these matters, meaning the contrast, created completely devoid of evil and purely beneficial. He asked his Shaykh. The Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah responded, creating nature as we know it without its inseparable attributes or manifestations is impossible, because the existence of the requisite without its indispensable requirements is impossible. Had nature been created on other than its non-creation, it would be a different nature, and the world would have been another world and another creation. There are two words, high and low, two places and two populations, each with its own dwellings, with deeds and nature. Each place was created with its own population and residents, all of which is a great wisdom and a magnificent ability. Nothing is suitable for any of the created souls in high and low and lowly worlds, except that which suits and fits what it has been created for. That's why Allah says, قُلْ كُلٌّ يَعْمَلُ عَلَى شَاكِلَتِهِ. Say, O Muhammad, to mankind, each one does according to his way what suits him, his intention, his beliefs. Would the rain be inseparable from what it may cause from drowning, harm and destruction? Would the sun be inseparable from its heat, smokeless flames and harm? Would childbirth be inseparable from the hardships of pregnancy, contractile pain and the pain of delivery? Would the yearly seasons be inseparable from the extreme and killer cold and the intense and harmful heat? Such questions are like saying, since the created being is in need and not self-sufficient, and this constitutes an attribute of deficiency, then why not detach him from this attribute and have him absolutely self-sufficient? The answer is given in the form of a question. Would he be a created being if he is absolutely self-sufficient? It is known that the necessities of creation are inevitably in him. It is inevitable that elevation requires lower parts, and the latter requires a supporting base or center, the lower part. The necessities of elevation, such as widened space, illumination, pleasure, good things, highly enlightened souls is suitable in its place, pleased and happy, are inevitable. Also the necessities of the lower and the base domains, such as constriction and limitation with their associated characteristics of darkness, roughness and evil, are inevitable. What is also inevitable in these domains is the presence of dark and evil souls with their deeds and influence. So if a wicked soul from the lower world wants to be close to the good and high souls amongst the high or elevated groups, the angels, then it has chosen the thing which the wisdom of Allah the All-Wise rejects. Suppose a king chooses his close associates from the worst kind of people. Then people would criticize his kingdom, saying he is not fit for kingship. What would you think, therefore, about those who would be close to the greatest king, the King of Kings, enjoying looking at his face, hearing his words, accompany the best and most purified and honored of his creation? Does it honor the Most High, Companion Allah, and the place of high degrees to have a worldly lower soul attached to the earth, following what is necessitated by its nature, demotivated, seeking all sorts of enjoyment, all kinds of food, drinks, women, legal or illegal, that suits its inherent qualities? The difference between such self and donkeys, dogs and cows lies only in the straightness of the body, the speech of the tongue and the eating by the hand. Otherwise the nature and the heart of such self is the same as those of the above animals. It may also be that the hearts and natures of these animals are better than those of the lower selves. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إن شر الدواب عند الله الصم البكم الذين لا يعقلون ولو علم الله فيهم خيرا لأسمعهم ولو أسمعهم لتولوا وهم معرضون. Verily the worst of moving living creatures in the sight of Allah are the deaf and the dumb, those who understand not, meaning the disbelievers. Had Allah known of any good in them, He would indeed have made them listen. As it is, if He had made them listen, they would but have turned away averse to the truth. Allah is referring in this respect to those believers who are arrogant and disdainful. Is it therefore fitting that the wisdom of Allah combine the best and most purified of creation and those from the most evil, who are worse than beasts, in one place and all on the same status, blessed or tormented? Allah said, أَفَنَجْعَلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَالْمُجْرِمِينَ مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. Shall we then treat the submitting Muslims like the mujrimeen, like the criminals, polytheists and disbelievers? What is the matter with you? And he said, لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. Not equal are the dwellers of the fire and the dwellers of paradise. It is the dwellers of paradise that will be successful. قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب. Are those who know equal to those who know not? It is only men of understanding who will remember, that is, get a lesson from Allah's signs and verses. In fact, the higher and lower parts of the same person are not equal. His eyes are not the same as his heels, and his feet are not the same as his head. Neither of the two parts can assume the role of the other. Indeed, Allah, the most majestic and mighty, has created the good and evil, the easy and the difficult, the beneficial and the harmful. Look and see the parts of the earth. Some of its materials can be used as a wash for the eyes, and other materials are used as a fuel for the fire. Through such real examples, one knows the perfect ability and wisdom of Allah. This is the point. Through such real examples, through such contrasts, one knows the perfect ability and the wisdom of Allah. The perfect ability is in the creation of contrasts, and the perfect wisdom is in placing them according to their ranks, each in its proper place. The learned person is the one who does not set up war between the attribute of ability and that of wisdom. For example, if he believes in Allah's ability, he would slander and rebuke Allah's wisdom and vice versa. But links both of them, knowing that the wisdom of Allah encompasses all of His creation. Since nothing can exist without Allah's ability and will, it is also true that nothing exists without His wisdom. The end of Imam Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah's discussion on this great subject of why is there good and why there is evil and why the hearts cannot be one heart.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, I testify that there is no true God worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is Allah's true slave and messenger. This verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 29. هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم. He it is who created for you all that is on earth, then he استوى إلى the heaven and made them 7 heavens, and he is the all-knower of everything. First, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the previous verses mentioned His perfect ability to bring life to the dead and to cause death, then He tells of His favors on the slaves, that He had created for them all that's on earth. All that's on earth, created for them. And this is from His favors upon us. Created for you based on knowledge and preordainment, in accordance in what is necessitated by His wisdom. Most magnificent and most high is He. In His statement, it is He who created lakum. This means either for you, meaning made permissible, or the other meaning created for you, meaning clearly for you, so that you utilize. Ma, He created for you, خلق لكم ما, all that is on earth. All that is on earth is created for us, from trees, vegetation, rivers, mountains, everything. Then after He created all of that on earth, then He استوى إلى. This had been interpreted to mean, first, that He rose above towards the heavens, that He rose above towards the heavens. This is the explanation by Ibn Jarir al-Tabari rahimahullah. And the other interpretation is that He directed Himself to the heavens, and this is what is chosen by Ibn Kathir rahimahullah. So this term istawa ila, the scholars had 2 meanings. The first meaning is directing towards the heaven, and His direction towards the heaven was perfect. The other interpretation is istawa. Anyone who examines the meaning of istawa would conclude that it cannot be except in the direction of upward and highness. And this therefore would mean, according to this interpretation, would mean that he rose over towards. But this meaning is weak, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not never rose over the heaven, rather he rose over the arsh, the throne. So the correct opinion is that of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, that the istiwa here, when it is followed by the term ila, by the preposition ila, it means al-qasd al-tam, the perfect directing. It is from the doubts of the deviants and the misconceptions of the deviants. They say that here, when it came to the istiwa, you resorted to figurative interpretation, and you changed the obvious meaning through figurative interpretation, and this is refuted. This is refuted because the term istiwa is followed by the preposition ila, which means to. And when it is linked and associated with the preposition ila, then it refers to a goal or to a direction or to an end. So the meaning would be here, the obviously understood meaning, underline this please, the obviously understood meaning is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directed himself to the creation of the heavens. And this is explained, this meaning is explained clearly also in Surah Fussilat. In Surah Fussilat. Let's take this. Fussilat 41, verse 11. After creating the earth before the heavens, Allah says, ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا أو كرها قالتا أتينا طائعين. Then he استوى, and this again here, this استوى إلى, the correct meaning is directed himself towards the heaven when it was a smoke, meaning it resembled the smoke. Meaning like smoke. He said to it and to the earth, come both of you willingly or unwillingly. They both said we come willingly. So this is the correct meaning, and it is explained therefore in Fussilat. So the correct meaning of istawa ila is that of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, that he directed himself to create the heavens. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لم يستوي على السماء أبدا وإنما استوى على العرش. He never rose over, quote unquote, the heavens, rather he rose over the arsh, over the throne. So the correct opinion and the correct interpretation is that of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, and it is the obviously understood meaning, since the verb istawa is followed by ila, the proposition, and this is a proposition of a goal or an end.
والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.